Let me ask you a question. What is the one thing that separates those who live in constant struggle from those who walk in supernatural abundance? It's not intelligence, because some of the sharpest people in the world are broke. It's not opportunity, because opportunity without preparation becomes a burden, not a blessing. It's not even luck, because luck is nothing but the residue of preparation colliding with timing. No, the real difference, the thing that unlocks the windows of heaven, is understanding the divine laws of prosperity and having the courage to walk them out. See, God did not create you to live in lack. Lack is not your birthright, and struggle is not your destiny. You were created in the image of God, which means you were designed for increase, expansion, and multiplication. The very first words God spoke to humanity were, "Be fruitful and multiply." Fruitfulness is not a suggestion, it's a command. Multiplication is not an accident, it's a covenant promise. And when you understand this, you begin to see that poverty is not just inconvenient, it's actually disobedient to the divine order of your design. But here's the challenge. Many people believe in God, but they don't believe God's system. They shout on Sunday, but struggle on Monday. They tithe, but don't steward. They pray for abundance, but never position themselves for it. They expect God to bless their intentions while ignoring His instructions. And that's why we've got believers who are saved but stuck, redeemed but restricted, free in their spirit, but broke in their finances. That is not the will of God for your life. The truth is, prosperity is not an event, it's a process. It's not about hitting a jackpot or stumbling into wealth. Prosperity is about understanding the divine economic system that governs increase, and then aligning your life with that system so that blessings chase you down and overtake you. And make no mistake, this is not about greed, this is about growth. This is not about chasing money, this is about manifesting mission. God gives you the power to get wealth so that He may establish His covenant. Which means if your vision doesn't require provision, it's not a kingdom vision. That's why today, I'm not here to give you hype. I'm here to give you laws. I'm not here to give you wishes. I'm here to give you wisdom. I'm not here to excite your emotions. I'm here to expand your understanding. Because once you know these divine principles, you can't unknow them. Once you see them, you can't unseen them. Once you align with them, nothing on earth or in hell can stop you from walking in supernatural supply. So lean in close, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to shift your mindset, transform your habits, and multiply your results. These aren't my opinions, these are God's principles, and principles don't care whether you like them or not. They only care whether you work them or not. Just like the law of gravity doesn't care if you believe in it, the law of prosperity doesn't wait for your permission. If you work it, it works. And that's where we begin, because everything starts with the principle of discipline. Seek the kingdom first and wealth will chase you. When Jesus declared in Matthew 6:33, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." He revealed the first and greatest wealth principle of the kingdom. Notice He didn't say seek wealth. He didn't say seek possessions. He didn't even say seek survival. He said seek first the kingdom. That's the order, that's the alignment, that's the foundation that makes everything else work. Most Christians spend their entire lives chasing what God said would chase them if they would only chase Him. Instead of running after money, instead of stressing about bills, instead of worrying about what they'll eat or wear, they should be consumed with the kingdom of God, His ways, His order, His will, His laws. The kingdom is not a religious ritual, it is a government, a system of divine laws that work with precision. Just as gravity works whether you are aware of it or not, the laws of the kingdom work for anyone who applies them, whether they are born again or not. That's why you see unbelievers who understand diligence, generosity, vision, and value creation, prospering more than believers who only pray but never apply kingdom laws. Seeking first the kingdom means making God's way of doing things your priority. It means asking before every decision, is this aligned with righteousness? Is this in harmony with God's principles? Because when you align with His order, you put yourself in position to receive supernatural addition. The reason so many Christians struggle financially is because they invert the order. They seek things first, and then they try to sprinkle a little bit of God on top. They make career choices based solely on money, and then ask God to bless it. They start businesses without prayer or purpose and then beg God for provision. But seeking the kingdom first flips the script. It means you let God's priorities dictate your priorities. It means you choose righteousness over compromise. It means you put purpose before profit. And the promise is clear. If you do this, all these things, the houses, the resources, the influence, the wealth, will be added unto you. Seeking the kingdom first also means trusting God's timing. When you make him the center, you won't be moved by delay. You won't be rattled by scarcity, because you know the king never abandons his citizens. Your assignment is obedience. His responsibility is provision. That's why the psalmist could boldly say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Want disappears when kingdom alignment becomes your pursuit. This principle is not about poverty, and it's not about greed, it's about order. If the kingdom is first, wealth flows. If the kingdom is second, wealth flees. If the kingdom is absent, wealth destroys. The moment you stop chasing money and start chasing purpose, the chase ends, because what you've been running after starts running after you. Honor God with your first fruits and unlock overflow, Proverbs 3:9. 10 says, "Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the first fruits of all thine increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine." This is not just poetry, it is an economic law of the kingdom. Honor is the posture of the heart that unlocks heaven's abundance. When you take the first portion of what God gives you and return it back to him, you are declaring, "Lord, you are my source. You are my provider. You are my multiplier." The problem is too many believers eat their seed before they sow it. They treat God like an afterthought instead of the first thought. But Scripture is clear. The first belongs to him, and when you honor him with it, he promises to fill your barns with plenty. Honoring God with your substance is not about the amount, it's about the priority. The widow with 2 mites gave more than the rich men, because she gave from her heart of honor. It's not the size of the gift, but the size of the sacrifice. Honor is not measured by comfort, it is measured by obedience. If you wait until you feel like you can afford to honor God, you'll never do it. But when you make honoring him your first move, you'll see his hand open the floodgates of heaven. Notice the language, barns filled with plenty and presses bursting with new wine. That's not survival, that's overflow. God never intended for his children to live in lack. He intended for his people to live in such abundance that their barns can't contain it. But overflow is not triggered by begging, it is triggered by honoring. Every time you honor God with your first fruits, you are planting a seed that guarantees a harvest. You cannot outgive God. When you put him first in your finances, he will put you first in opportunities. Some believers think giving is losing, but in the kingdom, giving is gaining. Luke 6:38 reminds us, "Give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom." When you release what's in your hand, God releases what's in his, and what's in his hand is always greater than what's in yours. Honoring God through first fruits is an act of faith. It is saying, "Father, I trust you more than I trust this money. I believe your promise more than I believe my bank account. I sow this not as a loss, but as a covenant exchange." If you withhold what belongs to God, you lock the door of increase. But when you release it, you open heaven's treasury over your life. Your barns will be filled, your wine press will overflow, and your life will become a testimony that honoring God is not a loss. It is the greatest investment you can ever make. Diligence and strategy open the door to riches, Proverbs 10:4 declares, "He becometh poor that dealt with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich." God has tied wealth to diligence, and yet many Christians are waiting for miracles to replace what God commanded diligence to produce. Prayer is powerful, fasting is vital, faith is necessary, but without diligence, none of these produce fruit. Diligence is the consistent, disciplined, focused effort that turns dreams into results. It's not just working hard, it's working with intentionality. Some work endlessly yet remain broke because they confuse activity with productivity. Diligence is not aimless work, it is precise, purpose-driven work backed by wisdom. When you study Scripture, every wealthy servant of God demonstrated diligence. Joseph was diligent in prison, Daniel was diligent in Babylon, Ruth was diligent in the fields, and their diligence opened doors to supernatural promotion. The promise is clear: diligence attracts riches, but laziness guarantees poverty. And diligence is not seasonal, it's daily. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of everyone that is hasty only to want." The diligent don't just work hard, they think ahead, they strategize, they prepare, they act with patience and precision. This is where strategy comes in. Diligence without direction is wasted energy. God blesses the diligent hand, but he also blesses the wise plan. Strategy is spiritual because it is alignment with divine wisdom. James 1:5 tells us that if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. Strategy is wisdom applied to effort. You can plant seeds, but if you plant them in the wrong soil or wrong season, your effort is wasted. Diligence without strategy produces exhaustion, but diligence with strategy produces expansion. This is why believers must move beyond simply working harder and begin working smarter, guided by the Spirit of God. Strategic diligence is finding where God called you to labor and applying all your strength there. Too many people are working diligently in the wrong field, wondering why no harvest comes. The ant is a picture of diligence in Proverbs 6, working without supervision, storing for the future, moving in wisdom. That's not random work, that's diligent strategic work. God has already declared he will bless the work of your hands, not the idleness of your hands. If your hands are slack, your life will lack. But when your hands are diligent and your mind is strategic, you position yourself to attract favor, resources, and opportunities that lazy people will never see. Multiplication, not maintenance, attracts kingdom reward. In Matthew 25, Jesus tells the parable of the talents. The master gave one servant 5 talents, another 2, and another 1, each according to his ability. The servants with 5 and 2 talents doubled what they were given. The one with 1 talent buried it. When the master returned, the ones who multiplied were rewarded, but the one who maintained was rebuked and cast out. The message is clear: the kingdom does not reward maintenance, it rewards multiplication. Many Christians are stuck because they are trying to hold on to what little they have instead of multiplying it. They save, they preserve, they protect, but they never expand. And because they bury their talents in fear, they never see the fullness of what God intended. God is not impressed with your ability to maintain what he gave you. He expects you to multiply it. That's why Genesis 1:28 says, "Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." Fruitfulness is producing something, but multiplication is reproducing it many times over. Maintenance says, "I must keep what I have so I don't lose it." Multiplication says, "I must sow what I have so it can grow." This principle applies to money, to gifts, to time, to opportunities. If you're only trying to preserve what God has placed in your hands, you're burying your talent. Multiplication requires risk, faith, creativity, and courage. The servant who buried his talent didn't lose it because of theft. He lost it because of fear. Fear will make you bury potential that was meant to multiply. Faith will make you step out and expand what God entrusted to you. Kingdom wealth is not built by hoarding, it is built by multiplying. That means investing, innovating, creating, building systems, and sowing seeds. The farmer who multiplies doesn't eat all his seed, he sows it to reap a greater harvest. The believer who multiplies doesn't consume all his increase, he reinvests it to produce more. The enemy wants you in maintenance mode because maintenance keeps you small, safe, and stagnant. But multiplication expands you, blesses others, and glorifies God. The parable shows us that the reward of multiplication is greater responsibility, greater authority, and greater resources. The master told the multiplying servants, "Thou hast been faithful over a few things, I will make thee ruler over many things." Multiplication positions you for rulership, while maintenance disqualifies you from advancement. Maintenance feels safe, but produces nothing. Multiplication feels risky, but produces abundance. When you embrace multiplication as your kingdom mandate, you align with heaven's economy, where increase is inevitable for those who refuse to bury what they've been given. Stewardship of money determines stewardship of true riches. Luke 16:11 says, "If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches?" Jesus made it clear that how you handle money is a test. Money is not the true riches, It is the proving ground that determines whether you can be trusted with true riches. True riches are influence, wisdom, revelation, spiritual authority, and eternal impact. But God will not release those into the hands of someone who cannot manage dollars, cents, and resources responsibly. Stewardship is not about the amount you have. It's about how you handle what you have. Too often, believers excuse poor financial management by claiming they are waiting on God, when in reality, God is waiting on them to demonstrate faithfulness.
If you can't manage a paycheck, how can you manage a business? If you can't budget for rent, how can you oversee land ownership? If you can't handle your own bills, how can you steward kingdom resources that are designed to impact nations? God doesn't promote people based on their desire. He promotes based on their discipline. Stewardship proves whether you can be trusted with more. The Bible shows us that stewardship is both natural and spiritual. Joseph was a steward in Potiphar's house, and his faithfulness with another man's possessions prepared him for rulership in Egypt. David was faithful with his father's sheep before he was entrusted with God's people. The principle is the same today. If you mismanage money, you disqualify yourself from greater levels of responsibility. If you steward it wisely, you position yourself for supernatural promotion. Faithful stewardship includes tithing, giving, budgeting, saving, investing, and avoiding waste. Proverbs 21:20 says, "There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up." Fools consume everything, but the wise preserve and multiply. God is not glorified when you live in debt, spend recklessly, or fail to plan. He is glorified when you use wisdom to manage what he gives you. Stewardship is worship. It says to God, "I recognize this is not mine, it's yours, and I will manage it in a way that honors you." If you prove faithful in unrighteous mammon, God will trust you with influence that cannot be bought, wisdom that cannot be purchased, and opportunities that money could never open. But if you fail the test of stewardship, you close doors in both the natural and spiritual. Your tongue is the trigger for wealth or poverty. Proverbs 18:21 declares, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." Your words are seeds, and every day you are planting either life or death into your future. Many believers remain broke not because of demons, but because of declarations. They sabotage their own prosperity with the language of lack. They say, "I can't afford that, I'll never get ahead. Money doesn't grow on trees. People like me never prosper." Every time those words leave their mouth, they authorize heaven and earth to align with them. Words are not just sounds, they are spiritual containers. God created the universe by speaking, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. If God created with words, and you are made in his image, then you create with words too. What you continually declare becomes the reality you experience. That's why the enemy attacks the believer's tongue. He knows that if he can get you to curse your own future, he doesn't need to destroy it. Your tongue is a trigger. It can release abundance, or it can release lack. When you speak life, you activate faith. When you speak death, you activate fear. Jesus said in Mark 11:23, "Whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith." Notice he didn't say you will have what you believe. He said you will have what you say. Belief is internal, but confession is the release that brings it into manifestation. If you want to walk in wealth, you must discipline your mouth. Speak what the Word of God says, not what your circumstances scream. Declare abundance when your pockets are empty. Declare provision when bills are due. Declare increase when opportunities seem scarce. This is not denial of reality, it is alignment with truth. Reality is what you see, but truth is what God said. And truth always overrides reality when spoken in faith. This is why David said in Psalm 107:2, "Let the redeemed of the Lord say so." If you are redeemed, you must say it. If you are blessed, you must say it. If you are the head and not the tail, you must say it. If you are prosperous, you must say it. Your life will always move in the direction of your most dominant confession. The tongue sets the thermostat of your destiny. If you set it on poverty, your life will freeze. If you set it on prosperity, your life will flourish. Every word is a seed, and your harvest will look like the seeds you've sown with your mouth. The tongue can trigger doors to open or doors to shut. It can trigger favor to flow or opportunities to dry up. It can trigger increase or decrease, promotion or demotion, blessing or cursing. What you continually speak is what you will continually see. Solve bigger problems, and you'll step into bigger provision. Genesis 41 tells the story of Joseph, a man who went from prison to palace in a single day, not because of connections, not because of wealth, not even because of freedom, but because he solved a problem no one else could solve. Pharaoh had a dream that troubled him, and none of the magicians or wise men of Egypt could interpret it. But Joseph, a prisoner forgotten by men, carried the wisdom of God. He stepped into Pharaoh's court, interpreted the dream, and laid out a strategy to preserve Egypt through 7 years of famine. Joseph was promoted instantly because he solved a national problem. That is the kingdom principle. Provision flows to problem solvers. The truth is, money is nothing more than a certificate of appreciation for solving problems. The more valuable the problem you solve, the greater the provision you attract. If you only solve small problems, you only see small rewards. If you solve big problems, you open doors to big provision. This is why many believers remain stuck. They pray for wealth but run away from problems. Instead of asking God to remove problems, you should ask Him to reveal the problem you were created to solve. Jesus himself operated as the ultimate problem solver. He solved the problem of sin, the problem of sickness, the problem of oppression. Everywhere he went, people pressed upon him because he was an answer. You too were born as an answer. There is a problem in the earth that only your gifts, your skills, and your anointing can solve. When you discover it and boldly step into it, wealth will flow toward you. Proverbs 18:16 says, "A man's gift maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men." That gift is a problem-solving tool. Stop complaining about problems. Problems are opportunities in disguise. David's wealth and fame were unlocked when he solved Israel's problem named Goliath. No one else wanted to face him, but David saw an opportunity. When you face problems others run from, you access rewards others never touch. The world doesn't pay for effort, it pays for solutions. If you want bigger provision, position yourself to solve bigger problems. Integrity is the foundation that sustains abundance. Proverbs 28:6 says, "Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich." Wealth without integrity is a trap that destroys, but wealth with integrity is a blessing that endures. Integrity is alignment between your character and God's truth. It is being the same in private as you are in public. It is doing what is right when no one is watching. Without integrity, whatever wealth you build will eventually collapse, because the foundation is weak. In the kingdom, integrity is not optional. God will not prosper you beyond the level of your character. If he gave you more without integrity, it would ruin you. Integrity is what preserves promotion. Joseph could have compromised with Potiphar's wife, but he chose integrity over convenience, and though it cost him in the short term, it positioned him for the palace. Daniel could have compromised in Babylon, but he chose integrity over pressure, and God made him 10 times wiser than all the magicians. The world rewards shortcuts, but the kingdom rewards character. Wealth gained by dishonesty may look impressive, but it carries sorrow and destruction. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase." Integrity guards you from shortcuts that look like advancement but end in loss. People with integrity attract trust, and trust attracts opportunity. Employers, clients, and leaders want to put resources into the hands of someone they know will not betray them. Integrity multiplies influence because it builds credibility. Your reputation is currency. A man or woman of integrity can lose everything and still rebuild, because integrity itself is wealth. God himself is a God of integrity. He does not lie, he does not change, he does not break his word. As his children, we are called to reflect his nature. Walking in integrity means handling money with honesty, treating people with fairness, and honoring commitments with consistency. It means not cutting corners, not manipulating, not deceiving. Wealth without integrity destroys families, poisons reputations, and ends in emptiness. But wealth with integrity builds legacies, strengthens communities, and glorifies glorifies God. Faith-filled action turns principles into prosperity. Hebrews 11:6 declares, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." Faith is the currency of heaven, the medium of exchange between the natural and the supernatural. You can know every biblical principle of wealth. You can quote every scripture on prosperity. You can understand diligence, stewardship, generosity, and strategy. But if you do not activate faith through action, none of it produces results. Faith is not mental agreement, it is movement. It is not just believing God can, it is acting like God already has. James 2:26 says, "For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also." Faith without works is lifeless, ineffective, powerless. Works do not replace faith, but they prove faith. When Abraham believed God, his belief was counted as righteousness, but his faith was proven when he offered up Isaac. Believers often confuse waiting on God with inactivity, when in truth, waiting on God is preparation, positioning, and obedience while expecting his timing. Faith is the bridge between revelation and manifestation, but that bridge must be walked on. Every miracle in Scripture required a corresponding act of faith. The widow had to pour her last oil. Peter had to step out of the boat. The lepers had to start walking toward the priests. The blind man had to wash in the pool of Siloam. Each act of obedience was the evidence of faith, and the miracle was released after the action. Likewise, financial increase requires faith that is visible through obedience. You sow when it doesn't make sense. You build when resources are scarce. You invest when fear whispers failure. You act on God's instruction even when logic argues against it. Faith refuses to let fear dictate decisions. Faith says, if God called me, he will provide. Faith says, if God spoke it, he will bring it to pass. Faith says, I move, not because I see the resources, but because I trust the source. This is the kind of faith that turns principles into prosperity. The laws of the kingdom are like seeds. Faith is the water that causes them to grow. Without it, the soil remains dry and barren. With it, the soil produces 30, 60, and 100-fold. Faith is not reckless presumption. It is not leaping blindly. It is standing firmly on God's word. Presumption acts without instruction, but faith acts because of instruction. When Peter cast his net at Jesus' word, it was faith in action, and the result was a net-breaking catch. When you act on God's word concerning finances, you trigger supernatural supply. Faith makes you move as if it's already done, because in heaven it already is. Wealth is for purpose, not possession. Build legacy that glorifies God. Deuteronomy 8:18 reminds us, "But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day." God gives power to get wealth, but not for selfish indulgence. The purpose of kingdom wealth is to establish his covenant, to advance his kingdom, to demonstrate his goodness in the earth. Wealth is not evil, and poverty is not holy. Wealth becomes dangerous when it becomes the goal instead of the tool. Poverty becomes destructive when it robs you of the ability to fulfill God's assignment. The divine balance is this: wealth is given for purpose. True prosperity is not measured by what you keep, but by what you release. A rich fool in Luke 12 built bigger barns to store his goods, thinking he had secured his future, but God called him a fool because he laid up treasure for himself and was not rich toward God. Contrast that with Abraham, who used his wealth to establish covenant, to bless nations, and to leave a legacy of faith. Wealth for possession ends with you. Wealth for purpose outlives you. Legacy is what you leave behind when you are gone. A life consumed with accumulation dies with its possessions, but a life committed to kingdom purpose leaves seeds that continue to produce for generations. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children." That inheritance is not only financial, it is spiritual spiritual, moral, and generational. It is wealth with assignment, money with mission, prosperity with purpose. God is looking for people he can trust with resources to fund his vision in the earth. People who will finance missions, build schools, support ministries, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and leave a legacy of transformation. The world chases wealth for status, but kingdom citizens pursue wealth for service. Your bank account is not the end goal. It is the tool God uses to extend his hand through you. When wealth becomes a servant to purpose, it multiplies. When it becomes a master, it corrupts. This is why Matthew 6:21 says, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." If your heart is in possessions, your life will be small. If your heart is in purpose, your life will expand. Purpose-driven wealth creates businesses that employ others, ministries that change lives, and legacies that echo in eternity. Wealth is for more than cars, clothes, and comfort. It is for covenant, community, and kingdom. And that, my friend, is the essence of kingdom prosperity. We have walked through the laws of stewardship, discipline, faith, generosity, purpose, and legacy. We have seen that wealth is not about what you keep, it's about what you release. We have seen that prosperity is not for status, it's for service. We have seen that God's design is not for you to chase riches, but to seek the kingdom. And when you do, all these things will be added unto you. I need you to hear me. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is truth. If you apply these principles consistently, your life will change. Not maybe, not someday, not if the economy gets better. No, it will change because God's word never fails. Heaven and earth may pass away, but his word remains forever. But you've got to make a decision. Will you keep living by the world's system, chasing crumbs and scraps, or will you step fully into God's system, where overflow is your normal? The choice is yours. The opportunity is here. The power is within you because the Spirit of God dwells inside you. Now, if this message stirred you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and join this movement, because every day we're dropping kingdom principles that will shift your finances, your faith, and your future. This is not entertainment. This is equipping. This is not motivation. This is transformation. And remember, when you align with God's word, lack cannot hold you, fear cannot stop you, and the devil cannot block you, because you are not called to survive. You are called to thrive. You are not called to borrow. You are called to lend. You are not called to scrape by. You are called to walk in abundance. This is Myron Golden reminding you that prosperity with purpose is your portion. And together on the golden track, we are walking it out in faith, in wisdom, and in power.
Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, future millionaires and world changers, let me start by telling you something that most people never realize. Your thinking is the thermostat of your life. It sets the temperature for your success, your joy, your peace, your finances, everything. And today, I'm not here to give you motivation that fades in 15 minutes. No, I'm here to teach you how to think correctly. Because once your thinking changes, your entire life shifts. Your mind is either attracting abundance or repelling it. There's no neutral ground. And what determines that? The quality of your thinking. Most people don't realize this, but the mind is the most powerful wealth-generating machine you've got. It's not your degree. It's not your job title. It's not your hustle. It's the thoughts that dominate your mental space every single day. That's the battlefield. That's where the game is won or lost. If you're thinking fear, doubt, survival, or scarcity, then you're literally programming your life to operate at a low frequency. But if you start feeding your mind with faith, possibility, strategy, and vision, you begin to rise. You start attracting people, favor, resources, and results you couldn't see before. Here's the hook. Your income will never rise above the level of your identity. If you see yourself as average, if you think like a struggler, if you speak like a victim, then don't be surprised when life keeps handing you evidence to support that mindset. The mind doesn't lie. It multiplies. That's why negative people keep getting more negativity. That's why broke mindsets keep finding new ways to stay broke. Not because they're cursed, but because their thoughts are creating environments their life is forced to adapt to. And until that thinking changes, nothing else will change. The bank account won't change, the habits won't change, the results won't change. See, most people are out here trying to change their income without ever changing their inner world. They want financial breakthrough, but they're still carrying broke mental habits. They want wealth, but they still think rich people are greedy. They want freedom, but they're scared to invest in anything that doesn't give instant return. That's emotional poverty. That's spiritual poverty. And it always shows up before financial poverty ever does. You can't pour abundance into a mindset that leaks doubt. That's like trying to plant seeds in concrete. It doesn't work. You've got to dig deep and break up the hardened ground of limited beliefs. Here's another hook for you. The wealthiest thing about you will never be your money. It'll be your mindset. Because a correct mindset knows how to make money, how to multiply it, how to manage it, and most importantly, how to make it mean something. A broke mindset, even if it wins the lottery, will find a way to lose it. But a wealthy mindset, even if it hits rock bottom, will rebuild from nothing and rise again. That's what separates people who win once from those who win consistently. They think on a different level. They operate from vision, not reaction. They lead their thoughts instead of being led by fear. People often ask me, Myron, how do I change my life? I always tell them, change your thinking. Because once your mind expands, it never shrinks back. Once you learn to think in terms of abundance, of legacy, of ownership, you can't go back to being okay with average. You become allergic to excuses. You become uncomfortable with settling. You start to demand more, not just from the world, but from yourself. That's when you know your thinking has been upgraded. That's when you become dangerous, not to others, but to the systems and lies that tried to keep you small. Let me be clear. Thinking correctly is not positive thinking. It's powerful thinking, strategic thinking, intentional thinking. It's thinking that sees through chaos, holds steady in storms, and keeps building even when it's hard. Correct thinking is what separates kings from pawns, leaders from followers, creators from consumers. And until you master that, nothing else will matter. Because the first real wealth you'll ever own is the clarity and power of your mind. Everything else flows from there. Let's make something absolutely clear. Being broke is not your greatest enemy. Thinking broke is. The real poverty most people suffer from doesn't start in their wallets. It starts in their mindsets. You can give a poor thinker $1 million and they'll find a way to lose it. But give a correct thinker $10 and they'll multiply it, reinvest it, build a system around it, and turn it into freedom. That's because the outcomes of your life are a mirror of your internal programming. If your mind is constantly rehearsing thoughts of fear, doubt, insufficiency, and unworthiness, you are constructing a life that reflects those limitations. Your life is going to reflect only the flaws in your mind. Because you're a construction of your thoughts and life. You are the same average of the 5 people that you hang out with. That becomes your norm state. You are constructing a life that reflects those limitations and unworthiness. You are going to be reflecting those thinking. You are stuck in a filter that reflects Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The thoughts you tolerate are the results you live with. If you think you're not good enough, you'll sabotage every opportunity that challenges that belief. If you believe money is evil, you'll repel every path that could lead you to wealth. If you see wealth as something for other people, your life will make sure you stay in the category you believe you belong to. Your life is loyal to your belief system. That's why most people never rise, because they're mentally anchored to limitations they never questioned. Here's your hook. Poverty doesn't need your permission to start. It only needs your cooperation to stay. Most people don't even realize they've agreed with it. They agree every time they say, that's too expensive. They agree when they say, people like me can't do things like that. They agree every time they choose safety over strategy. And this is not just financial. People are emotionally broke, relationally broke, and spiritually broke because they've accepted the idea that just enough is all they're worthy of. And let me tell you, that's a lie from the pit. Because you were not created for survival. You were created for dominion. One of the worst myths the world sold you is that struggle makes you noble. No, friend. Struggle makes you stronger only if you learn how to think through it correctly. Otherwise, struggle just makes you bitter, tired, and stuck. The problem isn't the storm you went through, it's the interpretation you assigned to it. Broke thinking says, this setback proves I'm cursed. Correct thinking says, this setback is part of my setup. Same situation. 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 The outcome is shaped by the thought, not the event. Let me give you another hook to shake you free. The size of your bank account is just a shadow of the size of your belief account. If your beliefs about yourself are weak, your confidence will crumble under pressure. If your beliefs about money are toxic, you'll never feel safe with it. If your beliefs about success are wrapped in guilt or fear, you'll run from the very thing you're praying for. And this is why so many talented, gifted people stay stuck. Not because of a lack of ability, but because of a lack of belief. We're not here to survive, we're here to reign. And reigning begins in the realm of thought. If your mind is still echoing voices from your past that told you what you can't be, it's time to interrupt that cycle. It's time to evict every thought that doesn't serve your future. You need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like a builder. Stop thinking like a burden and start thinking like a blessing. Because that's what you are when you think correctly. A blessing to your family, your community, your generation. The truth is, broke thinking is a learned habit, and thank God it can be unlearned. But you have to be intentional. You have to be fierce about what you let occupy your mind. You can't afford to casually consume negativity and then expect prosperity to show up. You've got to train your mind like a warrior. You've got to confront every thought that says you're not enough and replace it with strategy, faith, and execution. That's how you break free, not just from poverty, but from the lie that told you poverty was your portion. There's a massive difference between consumers and producers, and the gap between the two is where the wealth, the freedom, and the impact live. Most people have been trained, conditioned, and programmed from an early age to think like consumers. They've been taught how to earn just enough to spend it all on things they don't own, things they didn't create, and things that lose value the moment they're purchased. And while they're spending their energy trying to look successful, real producers are building systems that make money while they sleep. That's not luck. That's correct thinking. The mindset of a consumer is based on lack and dependency. It waits for a paycheck. It seeks comfort. It fears investment. It chases temporary satisfaction instead of building long-term value. Consumers measure life in transactions. Producers measure life in transformation. Consumers measure life in transformation. And here's the hook. If you stay in the consumer mindset, you will always work for someone else's vision. You'll spend your time buying what someone else imagined, created, and launched. But when you shift into producer mode, you become the one who defines value. You become the one who creates what others need. And that, right there, is the mindset shift that separates the struggling from the successful. The best mindset shift that separates the struggling from the successful. When you think like a producer, you don't just look at problems, you look for solutions and structure. You don't ask, what can I buy? You ask, what can I build? Your mind starts seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You no longer wait for doors to open, you design the blueprint and build your own. A producer doesn't just consume content, they create content. They don't just follow trends, they launch movements. Now, let me just follow. You don't just follow trends, you launch movements. That's what happens when you renew your mind and stop thinking like a dependent. You become powerful. And let me make this real clear. Producing doesn't mean you need to own a factory or invent a new gadget. Producing simply means you're giving the marketplace something of value that multiplies. It might be a product, a service, a book, a message, a brand, a solution, something you created from your God-given gifts and refine by discipline. Something that didn't exist until you showed up with vision and execution. And once you realize that value creation is what drives wealth, your entire financial blueprint begins to transform. Here's another hook for you. Consumers are always chasing money, but producers are busy attracting it. Why? Because people pay for solutions, not survival. When you offer value, when you solve problems, when you create impact, the money follows. That's not motivational talk, that's economics, that's entrepreneurship, that's legacy. And the best part, anybody can make the shift. You don't need a degree to become a producer. You need discipline, clarity, and the right mindset. You need to stop asking how to get more and start asking how to become more. Consumer thinking is obsessed with image, cars, clothes, gadgets, and status symbols. Producer thinking is focused on substance, value, systems, results, and ownership, not just a symbol to your name. You need discipline, clarity, and ownership. You need a system. You need a system to use money. Producer thinking is focused on substance, value, systems, results, and ownership. You need a system to get more. One is addicted to spending. The other is committed to multiplying. One complains about inflation, recession, and lack of opportunities. The other studies trends, adapts fast, and finds ways to turn problems into platforms. This is the mindset war that most people never win because they don't even know they're fighting it. But once your mind makes the leap from consuming to producing, you'll start to see life differently. You'll stop tolerating waste. You'll stop idolizing luxury that isn't backed by strategy. You'll stop being impressed by what looks rich and start conditions create internal realities. But it's the other way around. Your outer world will always reflect the internal world you've built in your mind. That's why two people can go through the exact same storm. One comes out stronger, wiser, more focused, while the other comes out bitter, broken, and defeated. It's not the storm, it's the thinking. Here's a powerful hook. Your thoughts are not just mental, they are architectural. They're building something, whether you're aware of it or not. Your thoughts are laying down the foundation for your decisions, your habits, your relationships, and your results. If you think small, you'll build a small life. If you think strategically, you'll build a sustainable legacy. Every major breakthrough begins as a thought. Every trap begins as a thought. Every excuse begins as a thought. And the quality of your thinking is the filter through which everything in your life flows. People keep repeating the same painful cycles year after year, and they call it bad luck, but what's really happening is mental autopilot. They're reliving the same mental patterns, the same emotional triggers, and the same limiting beliefs, and they expect different results. That's insanity. Until your thinking changes, your behavior won't change. Until your thinking changes, your emotions won't align. Until your thinking changes, you can go to every seminar, hire the best coach, listen to all the motivational content you want, and still stay stuck. Because transformation doesn't begin with action, it begins with awareness. Correct thinking precedes correct movement. Here's another hook to write on the walls of your mind. You are not living at the level of your potential, you are living at the level of your patterns. And those patterns are controlled by your thoughts. That's why Scripture says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Because without that mental renewal, you will continue to respond to new opportunities with old habits. You'll sabotage growth because it feels unfamiliar. You'll resist change because your brain is trying to protect what's familiar, even if it's dysfunctional. That's why changing your life is less about working harder and more about thinking higher. Correct thinking doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what you do. When you start thinking from a place of abundance, you stop hesitating on opportunity. When you start thinking from purpose, you stop entertaining distractions. When you start thinking from vision, you stop letting fear make your decisions. This is not hype. This is neuroscience. Your brain is literally designed to filter in the information that matches your dominant thought patterns. If you keep telling yourself, I'm stuck, your brain will highlight all the reasons that statement is true. If you start saying, I'm evolving, your brain will start searching for evidence of growth. It's not magic, it's focus. Let me give you one more hook. Your mind is a factory and your thoughts are the blueprint. What you allow yourself to think about daily becomes the construction manual for your future. So if your thoughts are chaotic, inconsistent, fear-driven, and emotionally reactive, then don't be surprised when your life feels unstable. But when your thoughts are focused, anchored in truth, guided by strategy, and built on faith, your life becomes more stable, more focused, and more fruitful. When you understand that thoughts become things, you stop thinking casually. You stop letting other people program your mind with their fear. You stop tolerating the mental clutter that keeps you locked in cycles of defeat. You become a gatekeeper over your own mind. And that's when you gain the power to change anything. Because once your mind shifts, your entire life follows. When you start thinking correctly, you become a threat, not to people, but to systems, cycles, and the limitations that once kept you average. Correct thinking doesn't just elevate your decisions, it repositions your entire identity. You no longer move with fear, you move with authority. You stop negotiating with mediocrity, and you start confronting it. And so I'm going to make it, and let me give you the hook that will make you uncomfortable in the best way possible. The moment your mind aligns with your true potential, average can no longer survive around you. Correct thinking makes you dangerous to excuses. Most people aren't stuck because of a lack of opportunity. They're stuck because they still think from a place of survival. They've learned to cope, to adjust, to settle. But when you start thinking from vision and not limitation, something powerful happens. You start leading instead of following. You stop playing defense in life and you begin to execute like someone who understands that legacy is on the line. You become too focused to be distracted, too purposed to be passive, too grounded to be shaken by what doesn't align with your assignment. Average thinking asks, how do I survive? Correct thinking asks, how do I dominate in excellence? It's not about arrogance, it's about alignment. When you think correctly, you stop measuring yourself by your past. You stop being impressed with effort that produces no results. You stop wasting time trying to prove your worth, and instead, you start investing energy into producing measurable outcomes. Because at the level of correct thinking, you realize that faith without execution is just empty noise. Here's a bold hook. Correct thinking exposes weak habits. It reveals where you've been playing small, where you've been negotiating with your destiny, and where you've been waiting on permission to do what you were already anointed to build. That's why most people fear growth. Not because it's hard, but because it requires them to leave behind the mental comfort of average. Average thinking is predictable. It's safe. It doesn't require risk, courage, or discipline. But correct thinking, it demands strategy. It demands faith. It demands you rise. Once your mind levels up, so does everything else. Your language changes. You no longer speak like a victim. You speak like someone who understands the power of your words. You no longer move impulsively. You move intentionally. You move impulsively. You move intentionally. Because you understand that correct thinking isn't just about feeling good. It's about producing fruit. Excellence becomes your standard, not just an aspiration. You also stop tolerating environments that feed confusion. Correct thinkers don't stay in rooms where average is celebrated. They seek environments where excellence is expected and vision is required. That's how transformation is sustained. Not by motivation alone, but by surrounding yourself with people, ideas, and standards that challenge your growth daily. Because when your thinking rises, your atmosphere must rise with it. Otherwise, you're feeding elevation with stagnation, and that never produces lasting success. Another hook you need to remember: correct thinking is the mental foundation of every breakthrough. You don't get to build a 10-story future on a 1-story mindset. If your vision is global, but your discipline is local, there's a disconnect in your thinking. If your dreams are massive, but your beliefs are weak, then your actions will always betray your desires. Correct thinking bridges the gap between where you are and where you belong. It aligns your inner world with the outer results you've been praying for. When you think correctly, you stop competing. You start creating. You stop mimicking. You start innovating. You stop chasing validation. You start building value. That's when you become dangerous, not to others, but to fear, to doubt to the average version of you that thought playing small was enough. Correct thinking doesn't ask for approval. It produces results so undeniable that even resistance becomes irrelevant. That's the mindset that changes not only your life, but the world around you. You cannot think correctly without faith. Faith is not just a spiritual virtue. It is the oxygen of powerful thinking. It's the element that turns invisible vision into tangible results. You can have the best strategies, the right resources, the perfect timing, but if your thinking is not rooted in faith, everything collapses under pressure. Faith gives your thoughts the fuel to move from concept to creation. It takes your imagination and attaches it to bold action. Most people are trying to make logical decisions in a world that requires supernatural clarity. That's why they're tired, confused, and stuck. They're thinking with fear, trying to reason their way into a life that only faith can unlock. Here's the hook. Logic will make you safe, but faith will make you successful. Logic will tell you to wait until the conditions are perfect. Faith will tell you to build while the storm is still raging. Correct thinking doesn't just rely on evidence, it creates it. It believes before the results show up. It walks even when the path isn't fully visible. Because correct thinking understands that vision isn't always proven, but it's always powerful. When your thinking is soaked in faith, you start moving differently. If you start moving differently, you start dreaming without limitation, you start planning like you've already won, and you begin to act with the kind of boldness that makes average people uncomfortable. People with no faith in their thinking will always talk themselves out of the very thing they prayed for. They'll shrink in front of opportunities because they can't see the entire staircase. But faith-filled thinking doesn't need to see every step. It just needs to know the direction is right. That's the mindset of every great builder, every great leader, every generational transformer. They didn't wait for everything to be perfect. They acted while others hesitated. They believed while others doubted. And that belief, that deeply rooted faith, became the foundation for everything they built. Here's another hook for you. Fear and faith both demand you believe in something you can't see. The outcome is determined by which one you give power to. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, what if it does? Fear will have you sitting on genius ideas for decades. Faith will have you launching something world-changing with nothing but vision, discipline, and a word. Correct thinking doesn't remove fear. It chooses not to obey it. It uses faith as the lens for every decision, every risk, every move. And the moment your thinking becomes faith-centered, your actions become unstoppable. This is where the game changes. When you allow faith to rewire your mental blueprint, you stop waiting for motivation. You start moving from conviction. You stop needing applause. You start trusting alignment. You start asking, what if I fail, and start declaring, what if I fly? Because when faith is present, failure is never final. It's simply feedback. It's part of the process. And a faith journey mind doesn't crumble when things go wrong. It recalibrates, it reinforces, and it rises stronger. You also stop comparing your journey to others. Faith doesn't need confirmation from culture. It already has permission from heaven. That's why correct thinking is so rare, because most people are still waiting for someone to validate what God already confirmed. But faith-filled thinking understands timing. It understands process. It honors obedience over optics. While others are performing for approval, you're building in the background. You're laying bricks with boldness even when nobody claps. Because faith isn't loud, it's anchored. Correct thinking rooted in faith leads to execution that moves mountains. It doesn't need the full budget. It moves with a bold blueprint. It doesn't wait for easy. It prepares for impact. That's why faith isn't just a belief system, it's a strategy. It informs how you think, how you speak, how you plan, and how you persevere. Without it, your thinking will always default to safety. But with it, your mind becomes a launch pad for transformation. When you combine discipline with correct thinking and saturate it with unshakable faith, you don't just build success, you build the impossible. Listen up, because what I'm about to tell you is either going to set you free or keep you stuck where you are. Broke, struggling, frustrated. There is one habit that has kept millions of people poor for generations. And if you don't get rid of it in 2025, it will do the same to you. This habit isn't about where you were born, what your education is, or even how hard you work. It's something much deeper, much more dangerous. It's the habit of waiting. Most people don't realize that the single biggest reason they are not wealthy isn't a lack of intelligence, talent, or even opportunity. It's their habit of waiting. They wait for the right time, the right circumstances, the right connections, and in doing so, they waste the most valuable resource they have, time. While they are stuck in indecision, second guessing, and procrastination, opportunities pass them by, and others who take immediate action move ahead. Wealth is not reserved for the most educated or the most talented. It belongs to those who are willing to take bold, decisive action without hesitation. Waiting is a silent killer because it feels harmless. People don't see the damage it's doing in real time. They tell themselves that they're just being cautious, that they need more information, or that it's wise to wait for the perfect moment. But what they fail to see is that every day they delay is a day they could have been learning, growing, and making progress toward their financial goals. The danger of waiting is that it creates a false sense of security. People believe they are avoiding risk when in reality, they are creating the biggest risk of all, staying in the same place year after year. The wealthy understand that action creates results. They don't sit around waiting for everything to align perfectly because they know that perfection is an illusion. They move forward with what they have, making adjustments as they go. They know that the most valuable lessons come from experience, not just from gathering information. But the habit of waiting keeps most people trapped in a cycle of overthinking and hesitation, which leads to missed opportunities and wasted potential. Fear is the root of waiting. People fear failure, rejection, and uncertainty, so they justify their inaction with excuses. They tell themselves they need more time to prepare, more credentials, more savings, more knowledge, when in reality, they just need more courage. The fear of making mistakes often stops people from even starting, but what they fail to realize is that the biggest mistake is never starting at all. The wealthy embrace failure as part of the process, using it as feedback to improve and grow. Meanwhile, those who wait are stuck in the same position, paralyzed by the possibility of things going wrong. The truth is, waiting is a decision in itself, a decision to stay broke, to remain stuck, to accept mediocrity. People convince themselves that they are waiting for a better time, but what they don't see is that someone else with fewer resources and less knowledge is already taking action and getting ahead. Every day that passes is a day that could have been used to build something, to take a step forward, to create momentum. But waiting robs people of those opportunities and replaces them with regret. Procrastination is not just a harmless delay, it compounds over time. A person who waits 6 months to start a business is not just losing 6 months, they are losing potential income, experience, and progress that could have been gained in that time. The cost of waiting is invisible but massive. It's the reason people wake up 5, 10, 20 years later and realize they are still in the same position, still struggling, still dreaming instead of doing. Wealth is built through consistency and execution, not by waiting for the right moment to begin. The longer someone waits, the harder it becomes to start. The habit of waiting strengthens itself with every delay, turning into a lifestyle of hesitation and missed chances. It's not just about money. This habit affects everything. People wait to improve their health, to strengthen their relationships, to go after their dreams, and in the end, they are left with nothing but what ifs. Those who are financially successful understand that taking action, even imperfect action, is the key to progress. They don't waste time over analyzing or seeking guarantees. They simply decide, commit, and figure it out along the way. Waiting keeps people in a cycle of poverty and struggle because it creates a mindset of dependence. Instead of taking control of their financial future, they wait for someone else to do it for them. They wait for a raise, a lucky break, a bailout, or some external force to change their circumstances. But real wealth is built by those who refuse to wait, by those who take charge, take risks, and take action. The habit of waiting is the most dangerous habit a person can have because it quietly steals their future, one delayed decision at a time. Most people believe that success is something you achieve when you are fully prepared, when all the conditions are right, and when you have everything figured out. But that belief is one of the biggest lies keeping people stuck. The truth is, success does not come to those who wait until they are ready. It comes to those who commit first and figure it out along the way. Readiness is an illusion, a comfortable excuse that allows people to delay action while convincing themselves they are being responsible. Those who succeed understand that commitment must come before preparation, not the other way around. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that successful individuals started with perfect knowledge, perfect confidence, and perfect resources. In reality, most of them started with uncertainty, fear, and incomplete information. What set them apart was not that they knew exactly what to do from day one, but that they committed to the process and stayed in the game long enough to learn what they needed to know, They didn't wait until they were experts. They became experts by taking action, making mistakes, and adjusting as they went. Waiting until you're ready is just another way of avoiding discomfort. People tell themselves they need more time to prepare, more time to research, more time to build confidence, when in reality, what they need is to take the first step. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes from action. The more you do something, the more competent you become, and the more competent you become, the more confident you feel. But those who insist on waiting for readiness never experience that transformation because they never start. Fear is the real reason people convince themselves they need to wait. They fear failure, rejection, embarrassment, and the unknown. So they mask that fear with the idea that they need more time. But those who commit to success understand that fear is part of the journey. They don't wait for the fear to disappear. They move forward despite it. They understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Those who keep waiting for their fear to go away never take action, because fear never fully disappears. It only loses its power when you face it. Success is not about knowing all the answers ahead of time. It's about trusting yourself to figure things out as you go. People who commit to success understand that the best way to learn is by doing. They don't waste years overanalyzing and second-guessing themselves. They take action, gather real-world experience, and make adjustments along the way. They don't sit on the sidelines hoping for the perfect moment. They step onto the field and learn how to play the game by being in it. Those who wait until they are ready remain spectators, watching others build wealth, grow businesses, and create opportunities while they remain stuck in preparation mode. The reality is most people never feel 100% ready for anything big in life. Whether it's starting a business, investing, making a career change, or stepping into a new opportunity, there will always be unknowns. But success doesn't require certainty, it requires commitment. Those who succeed don't ask, "Am I ready?" Instead, they say, "I will do whatever it takes." That shift in mindset makes all the difference. When you are committed, you find solutions, you push through obstacles, and you stay the course even when things get difficult. But when you are only waiting for readiness, the first sign of difficulty becomes an excuse to retreat. People who succeed are the ones who make decisions and follow through. They don't sit around waiting for permission, approval, or perfect conditions. They don't waste years saying, "Someday I'll start." They say, "I'm starting now," and they figure out the details along the way. Their willingness to commit before they feel ready allows them to move faster, grow quicker, and accomplish more than those who hesitate. Every day spent waiting is a day lost, and every opportunity delayed is an opportunity missed. Those who demand readiness before commitment will always be outrun by those who commit first and adjust as they go. Life rewards those who take action, not those who sit in preparation mode forever. The ones who succeed are the ones who decide that no matter what, they are going to make it work. They don't wait for the perfect conditions because they know the perfect conditions will never come. They commit, they move, they adapt, and because of that, they achieve what others only dream about. Money doesn't care about your dreams, your potential, or your good intentions. Your bank account is not a reflection of what you want to do. It's a direct result of what you actually do. Many people walk around with big ideas, ambitious goals, and powerful visions for their future, yet year after year, nothing changes. Why? Because they confuse thinking about success. The world does not reward those who intend to build wealth. It rewards those who take consistent, deliberate action to create it. People convince themselves that they are on the path to success simply because they talk about it, plan for it, and research it. But your financial reality doesn't change because you read books, watch motivational videos, or make vision boards. These things can inspire you, but inspiration without action leads to nothing. The person who takes even the smallest step forward every day will always be ahead of the one who spends years planning but never moves. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And if you're not crossing that bridge, you're staying in the same place. There's a dangerous mindset that keeps people broke, and that is the belief that one day things will change. One day they'll start that business. One day they'll invest. One day they'll take that risk. But one day is just another way of saying never, because unless action is taken today, nothing changes. The people who succeed financially are not the ones who sit around waiting for perfect conditions. They are the ones who move forward even when the conditions are not ideal. They understand that waiting doesn't make you money, working does. Your financial status is a scoreboard that measures your level of execution. If your bank account is low, it's not because life is unfair, the economy is bad, or you haven't had your big break yet. It's because you haven't taken enough action to increase it. Harsh as it may sound, this is a truth that separates the wealthy from the struggling. The wealthy do not sit around blaming external circumstances. They look at their actions, identify what needs to change, and make bold moves. They understand that money flows toward those who create value, solve problems, and take massive action, not those who wait, wish, and hope. The gap between the rich and the poor is not just about money. It's about how they approach action. The poor hesitate, overthink, and let fear control their decisions. They tell themselves they need more time, more education, more security before they can move forward. The rich, on the other hand, take risks, make moves, and adjust along the way. They don't wait to feel ready because they understand that action creates readiness. While one person is still thinking about an idea, another person has already acted on it, failed, learned, and improved. By the time the first person decides to start, they're already years behind. Your results in life, especially in your finances, are based on habits, not hopes. If you have a habit of procrastination, indecision, and playing it safe, your bank account will reflect that. If you have a habit of taking immediate action, seizing opportunities, and being relentless in execution, your bank account will reflect that too. There is no mystery to wealth. Money follows action, and the people who control their financial destiny are the ones who refuse to sit on the sideline. They understand that even failure is progress because every mistake teaches a lesson that brings them closer to success. But those who do nothing never learn, never grow, and never get ahead. Many people look at successful entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners and think, I could do that, and maybe they could. But the difference between them and the wealthy is that the wealthy actually did it. They didn't just think about it, they executed. They ain't just wish for success, they worked for it. They ain't wait for guarantees, they made it happen. Meanwhile, most people are still waiting for the right time, never realizing that the right time is always now. The longer you wait, the more opportunities you let slip away, and your bank account remains a reflection of that in action. The reality is simple. Money flows to movement. If your financial situation is not where you want it to be, the answer is not to wish, plan, or hope harder. It's to take bigger, bolder, and faster action. The size of your bank account is not determined by how much potential you have or how badly you want success. It is determined by how much you do. Your actions, and only your actions, dictate your financial future. People often believe they are being responsible when in reality they are simply afraid. They tell themselves they are waiting for the right time, that they need to be cautious, that they must have everything figured out before they take action. But beneath all that reasoning is not wisdom, it's fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty. It's easier to say I'm being responsible than to admit I'm afraid to take the risk. But responsibility is about making decisions that move you forward, while fear keeps you stuck in the same place, convincing you that standing still is the safer option. Fear is a master of disguise. It dresses itself up as logical thinking, patience, or even maturity. People say things like, I need to save more before I invest, or I need to do more research before I start my business, or I can't leave my job until I have a guarantee that things will work out. These statements sound reasonable, even responsible, but if you dig deeper, you'll find that in most cases, they are just sophisticated excuses to avoid stepping into the unknown. The truth is, no amount of research will ever eliminate all risks, and no amount of preparation will make you feel completely ready. Those who succeed understand the difference between being responsible and being paralyzed by fear. Responsibility means assessing risks, making informed decisions, and taking action despite uncertainty. Fear, on the other hand, tricks people into believing that endless preparation is progress when in reality, it's just procrastination. There comes a point when more planning is no longer responsible. It's just another way to delay taking action. People spend years convincing themselves they are being wise when all they are doing is giving fear more time to control them. Fear-based responsibility keeps people in survival mode rather than growth mode. It makes them prioritize security over opportunity. They stay in jobs they hate because it feels responsible, even when that job is limiting their potential. They avoid making big moves in business because they are afraid of losing money, so they convince themselves it's responsible to wait. Even when waiting means staying broke, they hesitate on investments that could change their financial future because they are scared to lose. So they call it being cautious. But in reality, avoiding risk completely is often the biggest risk of all. Fear-based responsibility is the reason so many people live with regret. They look back years later and realize that what they thought was wisdom was really hesitation. They realized that the time they spent being responsible was actually just wasted time. The people who win in life are not reckless, but they are also not controlled by fear. They don't let fear disguise itself as responsibility and dictate their choices. They make calculated decisions and move forward even when they don't have all the answers. They trust themselves to figure things out along the way rather than waiting for certainty before they begin. People who let fear control them believe they are avoiding failure, but what they are really doing is guaranteeing failure by refusing to start. They think playing it safe will protect them, but in reality it keeps them small. They admire successful people and tell themselves, I would do that too, but I have to be responsible. But what they don't realize is that the successful people they admire had the same fear. The difference is they didn't let those fears disguise themselves as logic. They didn't let the need for security override their need for growth. They accepted that there is no perfect time, no perfect knowledge, and no perfect safety net. Only action. True responsibility is about owning your future, not just protecting your present. It means making bold decisions that create long-term success, not just playing defense to avoid short-term discomfort. It's about taking the right risks, not avoiding all risks. Those who build wealth, success, and freedom do not let fear dictate their decisions. They understand that stepping into the unknown is not reckless, it's necessary. They don't let fear wear the mask of responsibility and trick them into living a small life. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is simple. One group recognizes fear for what it is and pushes past it, while the other lets fear disguise itself as responsibility and control their choices. The ones who succeed are not the ones who were fearless. They are the ones who refuse to let fear make their decisions. Success doesn't wait for those who move slowly. The speed at which you take action determines how quickly you achieve results, and those who move fast will always have an advantage over those who hesitate. The biggest mistake people make is thinking they need to be perfect before they act, but perfection is the enemy of speed. The people who win in business, investing, and life are not the ones who know the most. They are the ones who execute the fast. Speed is the difference between those who capitalize on opportunities and those who watch from the sidelines while someone else seizes them. Opportunities don't last forever. In every industry, in every business, and in every market, timing matters. If you move too slowly, you miss your window. The idea that could have made you millions is now being used by someone else. The investment that could have changed your financial future has already skyrocketed, and you're left wishing you had taken action sooner. The business you wanted to start is now facing tougher competition because someone else moved faster than you. In life, there are no participation trophies for those who thought about taking action but never did. Only results for those who moved first. Most people waste years waiting for the perfect moment, but the truth is, momentum only comes from movement. You don't get clarity by thinking, you get clarity by doing. Those who understand this principle don't waste time overanalyzing every decision. They take action, gather feedback, adjust, and keep moving forward. They don't get stuck in research mode or planning mode indefinitely. They execute fast, knowing that speed allows them to make more mistakes, learn faster, and improve quicker than those who take months or years just to get started. Fear slows people down, but fear never goes away until action is taken. Those who hesitate think they are being cautious, but in reality, they are just letting fear rob them of time. Fear loves hesitation because hesitation leads to inaction, and inaction guarantees failure. The people who succeed are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who move forward despite it. They understand that the longer they wait, the harder it becomes to take action, and that hesitation is the fastest way to kill success before it even begins. Speed creates confidence. The faster you take action, the faster you see results, and results build belief. People who move slowly tend to lose confidence because they overthink, they second guess themselves, and they allow doubt to creep in. But those who move fast stay ahead of doubt. They don't give themselves time to talk themselves out of success. They make a decision and execute immediately, knowing that even if they make a mistake, they can fix it along the way. Progress always beats perfection, and fast execution always beats slow preparation. The world moves quickly, and those who don't keep up get left behind. Technology, business, and markets are evolving every day, and what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. This is why successful people prioritize speed over comfort. They don't wait to see if something will work before they try it. They test, they implement, and they pivot if necessary. They understand that adaptability and speed go hand in hand, and that the faster they take action, the faster they can adjust to changes and stay ahead of the competition. People who move fast create more opportunities than those who move slowly. Speed leads to more experience, and experience leads to more options. When you take action quickly, you open doors that never would have existed if you had waited. You learn what works and what doesn't in real time instead of spending years stuck in theory. Meanwhile, those who hesitate are still trying to figure out the perfect way to start, not realizing that success comes from movement, not from overthinking. Every successful person understands that speed is a competitive advantage. The faster you act, the faster you learn, and the faster you succeed. The people who dominate their industries, build massive wealth, and create generational success are the ones who refuse to wait. They know that speed wins, hesitation loses, and action beats everything else. Waiting is the habit that silently robs people of success. It feels harmless because it disguises itself as patience, preparation, and responsibility. People tell themselves they are waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, or the right amount of knowledge, but what they are really doing is delaying their progress. They believe they are being smart by waiting, but the truth is, waiting is just procrastination in disguise. Those who succeed understand that execution, not waiting, is what creates results. They don't sit around hoping for perfect conditions. They take action and adjust along the way. Most people spend their lives waiting. They wait for the perfect business idea before they start. They wait to feel confident before they take a risk. They wait for someone to give them permission to go after their dreams. But while they are waiting, others are moving. Others are starting, learning, failing, and improving. By the time the person who waited finally decides to take action, they are already years behind. The world does not reward those who hesitate, it rewards those who execute. Every moment spent waiting is a moment lost, and lost moments can never be recovered. Execution is what separates the successful from the struggling. People who execute don't need to have all the answers before they start. They take the first step knowing they will figure out the rest along the way. They don't waste time trying to eliminate every risk because they understand that risk is part of the process. They trust themselves to adapt, to problem solve, and to keep moving forward no matter what. The people who wait, on the other hand, never develop these skills because they never give themselves the chance to grow through action. The habit of waiting is comfortable because it feels safe. It allows people to avoid failure, rejection, and discomfort. But success does not come from comfort. It comes from movement. Those who execute understand that mistakes are not the enemy. They know that failure is just feedback and that every action, even if imperfect, brings them closer to their goal. The people who refuse to execute because they fear making mistakes are the ones who stay stuck. They don't realize that inaction is the biggest mistake of all. Execution builds momentum. The more you act, the more progress you make, and the easier it becomes to keep going. But when you wait, the opposite happens. You lose momentum. Your confidence decreases. You start second-guessing yourself. You watch others move forward while you stay in the same place. Before you know it, years have passed, and you're still waiting for the right time. The truth is, the right time never comes. The only way to create the right time is by taking action now. Waiting creates a habit of hesitation, while execution creates a habit of decisiveness. People who execute move quickly. They don't overthink every decision, and they don't let fear slow them down. They trust that even if they make a wrong move, they can correct it. But people who wait become trapped in a cycle of indecision. The more they hesitate, the harder it becomes to take action. They become paralyzed by the idea of making the wrong choice, so they make no choice at all. But not choosing is still a choice, the choice to stay stuck. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common. They prioritize execution over perfection. They don't waste time waiting for everything to be just right. They start with what they have, do what they can, and improve as they go. They understand that success is a process, not a single moment of preparation. Every breakthrough, every opportunity, and every achievement comes from a series of actions, not a series of delays. Those who wait for success to come to them will always be left behind by those who go out and create it. If you want to change your life, you must break the habit of waiting and replace it with execution. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to act without them. It's not about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning from them. It's not about waiting for confidence. It's about building confidence through action. Every day you wait is a day wasted, and every day you execute is a day gained. The choice is simple. Keep waiting and stay where you are, or start executing and create the future you want.
Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs, visionaries, believers in destiny, lean in close, because what I'm about to share with you is going to shift the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you live from this day forward. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why your life seems stuck in the same patterns? Why certain doors won't open? Why no matter how hard you hustle, it feels like breakthrough stays just out of reach? Let me give you the answer up front. It's not your circumstances. It's not your background. It's not the economy. It's not your family, your boss, or your past mistakes. It's your thinking. Yes, your life right now is nothing more than the harvest of the seeds you've been planting in your mind. Your thoughts are blueprinting your future. If you've been thinking broke, you've been living broke. If you've been thinking fear, you've been living limited. If you've been thinking small, you've been living small. But today, I'm going to help you tear down every mental limitation that's been holding you hostage and rebuild your mindset with faith, with power, with abundance, with kingdom authority, because you become what you think about. And by the time this message ends, your thinking will never be the same again. Your thoughts are blueprinting your future. Your thoughts are not random. They're not harmless. They're not just passing clouds in your mind. They are the invisible architects of your future reality. Every time you think a thought, whether positive or negative, you're drawing up a blueprint, a design, a spiritual, emotional, and mental construction plan for the life you're about to live. Some people wonder why their life looks like chaos, why their finances are in shambles, why their relationships are toxic, why doors seem to stay closed. And it's because they've been blueprinting that chaos for years without realizing it. You don't get to plant weeds and expect roses. You don't get to think lack and expect abundance. You don't get to think failure and expect success. The law of sowing and reaping starts right here in your mind with your thoughts. What's dangerous is that most people are completely unaware of the power of the thoughts they entertain. They let any random negative, fear-driven, self-sabotaging thought run wild in their mind like an untrained dog tearing up the house. They wake up thinking, I can't, I'm not good enough, nothing ever works for me, and then wonder why life feels like a struggle. Your mind doesn't care whether the blueprint you handed is for a palace or a prison. It will build what you keep handing it, day after day, thought after thought. Imagine your mind like a construction crew standing by, ready to build. They're not going to question your design. They're not going to argue with your blueprints. They're just waiting for you to give the orders. If you say, build struggle, they'll build struggle. If you say build lack, they'll build lack. If you say build victory, they'll build victory. If you say build overflow, they'll build overflow. Some of you are frustrated because your current life doesn't match your desires, but it perfectly matches your thought patterns from the last 5 years. Your results are not an accident. They're a result of a blueprint you didn't even know you were submitting every single day. You've got to get intentional. You've got to decide that from this day forward, every thought that enters your mind gets inspected like a brick before it's laid. If it's cracked with doubt, throw it out. If it's broken with fear, discard it. If it's strong, faithful, purpose-driven, lock it in. The most successful people in life aren't just lucky. They aren't just talented. They have learned to build blueprints of victory over and over again until it becomes second nature. If you want a different future, you don't start with your circumstances. You start with your thoughts. Because your thoughts are blueprinting your future whether you like it or not. You will always move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. You don't end up successful by accident. You don't end up broke by accident either. Life moves you in the direction of your most dominant, most frequently repeated thoughts. I need you to understand something deep and foundational. You are mentally programmed for whatever you think about the most, whether it's abundance or lack, faith or fear, victory or defeat. Your life will begin to align with whatever dominates your mental conversation. If you constantly think money is hard to get, guess what? Money will stay hard to get. If you constantly think people are always against me, you'll start finding enemies where there were none. If you think I can't lose, you'll start seeing opportunities that others miss. If you think I'm a magnet for favor and increase, you'll start attracting the very thing you're thinking about. The human mind cannot hold two dominant conflicting thoughts at the same time for long. Either faith will kick fear out or fear will choke out faith. One will become dominant and your life will follow that path. Think about a car on a highway. If you lock the steering wheel to the left, the car will drift left whether you like it or not. The same with your mind. If your dominant thoughts are focused on negativity, you're going to drift toward negative outcome. If your dominant thoughts are centered on purpose, growth, and opportunity, you're going to drift towards success. Your mind is like a GPS. It needs a destination. But here's the thing. Your dominant thoughts set that destination every single day. The problem is most people are letting that GPS program itself with junk. They're letting social media feed them comparison and insecurity. They're letting past failures feed them doubt and fear. They're letting generational curses tell them what's possible, and then they sit back hoping life turns out better, not realizing they're holding the steering wheel the whole time. If your most dominant thoughts every day are fear, you will drive your life straight into fear-based decisions. If your most dominant thoughts are about lack, you will make scarcity-driven choices that keep you broke. But if you flip the script, if you decide that from this day forward, your dominant thoughts will be about increase, about divine favor, about your God-given potential, then watch how quickly your life starts to shift direction. Let me tell you something powerful. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you expect. And your expectations are built on your dominant thoughts. If you've been feeling stuck, if you've been wondering why your business isn't growing, why your relationships aren't thriving, why you keep repeating cycles, check the direction of your dominant thoughts. Because your feet, your decisions, your habits, your words, your opportunities, they will all follow the mental roadmap you're driving on every single day. You can't think small and live big. You can't think broke and build wealth. You can't think defeated and walk in victory. You will always move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. You can't outperform the limits you've set in your mind. You can hustle all day. You can wake up at 5 a.m. You can listen to every motivational speaker on the planet. But let me tell you something that most people don't want to admit. You will never outperform the limits you've placed on yourself in your mind. That's hard truth. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how many opportunities are placed in front of you. If you secretly believe that you're not worthy, that you're not smart enough, that you're not chosen, that you're not capable, then everything you do will subconsciously sabotage the very thing you say you want. Some people are blaming the economy, blaming their boss, blaming their childhood, blaming their environment. But the real enemy is the ceiling they've built in their mind. You've got to ask yourself, what's the story I've been telling myself about what's possible for me? Have you been telling yourself you're stuck? Have you been telling yourself this is just how life is for people like me? Have you been convincing yourself that wealth, favor, influence, and impact are for other people, but not for you? Because here's the reality. You'll never rise above the story you're rehearsing in your head every day. You'll never outperform your own identity. If you see yourself as a struggler, you'll keep struggling even when opportunity knocks. If you see yourself as a victim, you'll keep getting victimized even when doors open. If you see yourself as a failure, you'll find a way to fail even when success is within reach. And here's what's crazy. Your actions will always align with the identity you hold in your mind. You'll hesitate on decisions that could change your life. You'll procrastinate on projects that could build your future. You'll shrink back from rooms where you're supposed to take up space. Because deep down, that limit you set, that ceiling you built, that belief you accepted, it's running the show. Some people will spend years getting degrees, attending conferences, reading books, but never see real breakthrough. Not because they didn't learn enough, but because their inner thermostat was set to a level of living that they never dared to adjust. You know how a thermostat works, right? If the temperature in the room rises above the setting, the system kicks in to bring it back down. That's exactly what happens with your life. And when you start to experience levels of success, love, health, and prosperity beyond what you believe you deserve, your internal thermostat, your mental programming starts working overtime to bring you back down to your set point. This is why some people win big and then lose it all. This is why people start diets and then gain the weight back. This is why entrepreneurs hit a financial goal and then suddenly find a way to mess it all up. It's not the external circumstances, it's the internal limits. Until you raise that thermostat, until you change the default settings in your mind, you'll keep getting pulled back to the level you secretly believe you belong at. You've got to do the internal work. You've got to identify the lies you've believed for too long. You've got to speak a new identity over yourself. You've got to declare every single day that you are who God says you are, not who life has tried to convince you are. Because at the end of the day, you can't outperform the limits you've set in your mind. Poverty and prosperity both start in the mind first, before money ever shows up in your bank account, before opportunities ever knock on your door, before clients ever sign contracts, before promotions ever happen. Wealth starts as a thought. And guess what? Poverty starts as a thought too. This is why two people can grow up in the same neighborhood, attend the same schools, face the same challenges, and end up with two completely different lives. One lives in financial struggle their whole life. The other creates abundance and legacy. Why? Because of the thoughts they chose to believe and build on. Poverty isn't just a bank balance. It's a mindset. It's the thought that says there's never enough. It's the belief that says I'm not worthy of wealth. It's the internal narrative that says people like me don't succeed. Prosperity, on the other hand, is also a mindset. It's the thought that says resources are attracted to me. It's the belief that says God has given me the power to create wealth. It's the internal narrative that says opportunities are everywhere and I'm equipped to seize them. Some people are tithing, praying, fasting, but still broke because their mind rejects prosperity. You can't receive with your hands what your mind refuses to hold. You've got to realize every financial breakthrough you're asking for starts in your thought life. You're not poor because of lack of resources. You're poor because of lack of resourcefulness. You're not stuck because life is unfair. You're stuck because your mental blueprint keeps recreating lack over and over again. You've got to change the way you think about money. Stop seeing it as evil. Stop seeing it as something hard to get. Stop seeing it as something that only happens for other people. Wealth doesn't go to the smartest person. It goes to the person whose mind is prepared to manage it. You attract according to your internal belief system. If your internal dialogue says, I'll never have enough, guess what? You won't. If your internal dialogue says, money comes to me easily and frequently, guess what? It will. Some of you are working 3 times harder than people who make 10 times more than you because you're trying to fix a mind problem with external hustle. It won't work. You've got to reprogram the way you think. You've got to expose yourself to new beliefs about wealth. You've got to hang around people who think abundance. You've got to read books, listen to teachings, speak affirmations, and meditate on scriptures that speak prosperity into your spirit. Because at the end of the day, poverty and prosperity both start in the mind first. Fear is a thought pattern. So is faith. Fear doesn't show up in your life as a random feeling. It's not some uncontrollable force from the outside that suddenly attacks you. Fear is a thought pattern. It's a mental loop that starts small and then grows because you feed it with attention, repetition, and belief. It begins with a whisper in your mind. What if this doesn't work? Then it becomes louder. What if I fail? Then it evolves into a dominant voice. I probably shouldn't even try. Before you know it, fear becomes the lens through which you see every opportunity, every relationship, every decision. The problem with fear is that it disguises itself as logic. It pretends to be your friend. It sounds like reasonable advice. It tells you to stay safe, to stay small, to wait for the perfect moment, to avoid risk, to protect yourself from embarrassment or failure. But underneath all that fake wisdom is a mental trap. Fear doesn't protect your future, it paralyzes your destiny. You've got to realize that fear is a rehearsed way of thinking. The more you dwell on fearful thoughts, the more wired and automatic they become in your brain. Your mind is like a computer, and fear programs it to expect the worst at every turn. That's why some people automatically imagine failure every time they get a new opportunity. Their mind is programmed for fear-based outcomes. But let me flip the script. Faith is a thought pattern too. Faith is not random. It's not a feeling that shows up on special days when the sun is shining. Faith is a discipline. It's a mental habit. It's a chosen thought cycle. Faith starts with a whisper too. What if this works out? Then it gets louder. What if this is the breakthrough I've been waiting for? Then it becomes dominant. I know that all things are working together for my good. Faith looks at the same facts as fear, but draws a completely different conclusion. Fear says you're not qualified. Faith says whom God calls, he qualifies. Fear says there's not enough. Faith says my God shall supply all my needs. Fear says, what if you fail? Faith says, what if this is my next testimony? You have to decide which thought pattern you're going to build your life on. Because here's the truth. You can't live in both fear and faith at the same time. One will eventually cancel the other out. If you keep entertaining fearful thoughts, they will build momentum. They'll turn into anxiety, hesitation, procrastination, and eventually inaction. But if you train yourself to entertain faith that held thoughts, they will build a different momentum. They'll turn into confidence, boldness, decisive action, and eventually manifestation. This isn't about ignoring reality. This is about choosing which mental reality you're going to focus on. Both fear and faith require belief in something you cannot see yet. Fear believes in a negative outcome that hasn't happened. Faith believes in a positive outcome that hasn't happened yet either. You've been given the authority to choose your dominant thought pattern. You don't have to let fear run your life. You don't have to keep living in cycles of doubt and hesitation. You can decide, starting today, to build a new pattern. Start small if you have to. Catch fearful thoughts the moment they show up. Interrupt them, replace them, speak faith out loud even when your feelings don't match yet. Because fear is a thought pattern, and so is faith. What you meditate on multiplies in your life. What you choose to meditate on every day is the seed that multiplies in the soil of your life. You cannot afford to let your mind sit idle. You cannot afford to let toxic thoughts park themselves in your head, because whatever you give focus, attention, and repetition to will grow. Meditation isn't just about sitting cross-legged in silence. Meditation is about whatever you rehearse in your mind on a regular basis. If you're constantly playing the highlight reel of your past failures, guess what? That failure energy will multiply in your life. If you're constantly thinking about who hurt you, who betrayed you, who rejected you, guess what? That pain will stay alive and grow stronger. If you're constantly worrying about bills, deadlines, or worst case scenarios, you are meditating on lack, stress, and fear. And the more you meditate on it, the more it will multiply. Some people are experts at meditating on everything they don't want and then get surprised when they keep getting more of it. The mind doesn't argue with you. It doesn't say, are you sure you want more of this pain? It simply responds, oh, this is what you want to focus on? Let me multiply it for you. But the good news is, this works the other way too. If you start meditating on abundance, joy, purpose, and victory, that will multiply as well. If you start meditating on scriptures that declare your breakthrough, those promises will start to multiply. If you start meditating on images of yourself succeeding, leading, growing, impacting, those outcomes will start taking root in your life. This is why visualization is so powerful. When you take time every day to close your eyes and picture yourself walking in victory, handling business with excellence, serving at a high level, leading with confidence, your mind starts believing that new reality. It starts looking for ways to make it happen. It starts filtering your decisions, your energy, and your focus in alignment with that mental image. Meditation builds momentum. Momentum builds belief. Belief builds behavior. Behavior builds results. You've got to ask yourself daily, what am I meditating on today? Is it faith or fear? Is it solutions or problems? Is it abundance or lack? Is it victory or defeat? Whatever you meditate on, you give life to. Whatever you feed with your focus will feed you back with more of the same. If you want to shift your life, shift your meditation. Start filling your mind with things that multiply joy, hope, clarity, and abundance. Feed your spirit with thoughts that align with your next level, because what you meditate on multiplies in your life. Speak it, see it, and step into it. Your words are not just sounds, they're spiritual commands. Every time you speak, you're giving your life instructions on what to do next. When you speak fear, your life produces fear-based outcomes. When you speak faith, your life aligns with faith-based results. What you say creates what you see. Some people wait until circumstances change before they speak victory, but the truth is, you need to speak victory before the evidence shows up. Your mouth is the first step in building your future. When you declare abundance, you start seeing opportunity. When you speak healing, you start feeling stronger. When you speak success, you start moving toward success. There's power in your voice. The atmosphere responds to your declarations. What you speak programs what you see, and once you see it clearly in your mind and spirit, you'll start stepping into it with confidence. Don't wait to see it before you say it. Say it until you see it. Speak it, see it, and step into it. Your words reveal your thoughts and predict your outcome. The words coming out of your mouth are not random. They're windows into your dominant thoughts. Whatever you talk about the most, you've been thinking about the most. If you keep saying, I'm tired, I'm broke, I can't win, you're exposing a mindset that's already defeated. Your language is painting a preview of your future reality. That's why you have to be intentional with your speech. You can't expect to live a life of abundance while constantly speaking words of lack. You can't expect favor while speaking frustration. Your words set the tone for your day, your decisions, and your destiny. If you want to predict where your life is headed, listen to your own conversations. Are you speaking life or are you speaking death over your own situation? Your words don't just describe your world, they design your world. God responds to faith-filled thinking, not fear-based wishing. God is not moved by fear. He's not responding to panic. Heaven doesn't operate on the frequency of anxiety or desperation. It responds to faith. Too many people are praying with their mouths but worrying with their minds. They speak words of hope, but deep down their dominant thoughts are saturated with fear and doubt. They're wishing for breakthrough, but mentally rehearsing failure. They're asking God for provision, but imagining lack. They're begging for healing, but visualizing sickness. Faith-filled thinking is different. It aligns your thoughts with God's promises, not with your problems. It means when you pray for increase, you also think increase. When you ask for open doors, you mentally picture yourself walking through them. When you declare restoration, you see it happening in your mind before it shows up in your life. God is attracted to faith that expects him to move. He's looking for people who believe without seeing, who speak life even when circumstances scream otherwise. The word says without faith, it's impossible to please God. That doesn't just mean faith in your words. It means faith in your thoughts. Your thought life has to match your prayer life. Your internal belief has to match your external declaration. Stop sending mixed signals to heaven. When you align your thinking with the outcome you're praying for, you create a spiritual environment where miracles manifest. God responds to faith-filled thinking, not fear-based wishing. If you want a new life, start with new thoughts today. Your life doesn't change just because you want it to. It changes because you change the way you think. Every new level you desire starts with a new level of thinking. Some people are trying to upgrade their life with the same old thought patterns that got them stuck in the first place. They want new results, but refuse to adopt new beliefs. You can't expect to live like a champion while thinking like a victim. You can't expect prosperity while dwelling on poverty. You can't expect favor while feeding frustration. Transformation starts in the mind. The Bible talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind, not the renewing of your environment, your paycheck, or your circle. Because even if God gave you everything you're praying for right now, if your thinking doesn't shift, you'd sabotage it or lose it within months. Your new life requires a new mental blueprint. That means letting go of the thoughts that are no longer serving you. It means rejecting doubt the moment it tries to creep in. It means refusing to dwell on past failures. It means choosing thoughts of faith, expectancy, discipline, and focus. The fastest way to change your life is to change your dominant thought patterns. Make a decision to monitor your thinking daily. Replace every limiting belief with one that empowers you. Speak life over your situation and visualize the future you're building. Because if you want a new life, it starts with new thoughts today. Let's bring this full circle. We started with the reality that your thoughts are blueprinting your future. Every result in your life is a reflection of the mental architecture you've been building in secret. Then we learned that you will always move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. Your feet follow your focus. Your habits follow your mental defaults. We exposed the truth that you can't outperform the limits you've set in your mind. No matter how hard you work, you'll sabotage success if your inner ceiling stays low. We confronted the lie of lack by declaring that poverty and prosperity both start in the mind first. Your bank account is a reflection of your belief account. We took authority over fear, realizing that fear is a thought pattern and so is faith. And you get to choose which one you build your life on. We locked in the power of repetition by knowing that what you meditate on multiplies in your life. You can't focus on failure and expect success. We elevated our confession with the reality that you must speak it, see it, and step into it. Life responds to your declarations. We examined our words and realized that your words reveal your thoughts and predict your outcome. You don't just speak about your life, you speak your life into existence. We honored the divine principle that God responds to faithful thinking, not fear-based wishing. Heaven moves when your thoughts align with your prayers. And finally, we sealed it with the undeniable truth that if you want a new life, you've got to start with new thoughts today. Transformation begins in the mind. So here's the final challenge for you. Start thinking like the person you're destined to become. Start speaking like the person you're called to be. Start living like the breakthrough is already yours, because it is. Now listen, I don't want you to just click off this video and go back to living life on autopilot. I want you to pause right here, right now, and realize this is your defining moment. You didn't stumble onto this message by accident. You didn't randomly scroll into this teaching. This is a divine appointment, a destiny checkpoint, a moment where heaven is literally handing you the keys to unlock your next level. And the only question is, will you take action? Will you shift your thinking? Will you move? Because let me tell you something that every successful, purpose-driven, kingdom-minded person understands. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you decide for. You don't get new results with old thinking. You don't get new doors with old doubts. You don't get new opportunities with old excuses. If you've been sitting in fear, stuck in lack, drowning in overthinking, trapped by your own self-imposed limits, this is your call to rise up. This is your wake-up alarm. This is your faith activation moment. This is where you say to yourself, enough is enough. I refuse to live another day stuck in small thinking. It's time to rewrite the narrative in your mind. It's time to speak life over your future. It's time to start walking, talking, thinking, and acting like the person God designed you to be before you were even born. Now, before you go, I need you to do three things. And don't treat this like a casual suggestion. Treat it like your first step toward your breakthrough. First, if this message stirred something in your spirit, hit that like button right now. Not just because it helps the algorithm, but because when you hit like, you're making a faith agreement that your thinking is shifting today. Second, share this video with someone you love, someone you care about, someone who's been battling small thinking, fear, lack, and limitation. Be the reason their life starts to shift too. Third, subscribe to this channel. Myron Golden track and turn on the notification bell, because this isn't a one-time pep talk. This is a lifestyle. This is a journey. This is ongoing transformation. You're going to want to be here every time I drop something new that speaks life, faith, and kingdom wealth principles into your mind and spirit. And for those of you who are serious, I'm talking about the people who are tired of surface level motivation, the people who want to go deeper, who want real mentorship, real kingdom strategies, and real community with like-minded winners. I'm inviting you personally to join my channel membership. When you join, you're not just supporting the channel, you're unlocking exclusive teachings, behind-the-scenes coaching, private content, and kingdom-famous business wisdom that I don't share anywhere else. If you're ready to invest in yourself, if you're ready to grow at a whole new level, if you're ready for divine acceleration, click the join button right now. Your breakthrough doesn't start tomorrow. It doesn't start next week. It starts the moment you make the decision to shift your thinking, shift your speaking, and shift your life. I love you. I believe in you. God bless you. And I'll see you inside the membership and in the next video.